Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Max Cape Speedrun series. My name is JCW and I finished 200 mil all on a level 3 back in mid-2020. Recently, I decided to jump back into the skilling scene, so I made a brand new account where I challenged myself to max in the quickest playtime possible. The best part about this series is that there are no restrictions, so I can spend however much I want, and any methods that I discover that saves me playtime, I'm allowed to do. Last episode, I was found to be woodcutting. A week later, here I am, still woodcutting. However, this episode I'm going to be going in depth about this method. A question many of you may be wondering, why would the lunar spell energy transfer be useful for a method like this? Real quick, I would like to say TY to everybody who has been following and liking my videos. I'm nearing 10k subs, which is huge for me, so if you don't mind, don't be shy to hit the button. There's actually so much to explain about this method, it's unreal. I never thought about how in-depth the 2007 paint game skilling method could be, but here we are. So I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can for those who do not play with this game, so bear with me. First thing you should know about this paint game is that it is based on a tick system of 0.6 seconds per tick. This means that all actions must happen on the 0.6 second. If I click 5 times in a span of 0.1 to 0.5 seconds, all of the clicks will register on the 0.6. Some other basic facts you need to know beforehand is 1. When using an axe to chop wood, it takes 4 ticks to chop a log. 2. When using a knife on a teak log, it creates a fletching action to create a teak stock. This teak stock is made in 3 ticks. So how tick manipulation works in this game is that when I start the action of creating a teak stock, it wants to complete it. So by the time I finish that action, I already clicked the tree. By me clicking the tree, it goes through those 3 ticks, and since I clicked the tree most recently, I get a log on the 3rd tick. This allows me to get a chance for a log every 3 ticks instead of 4. Unfortunately, just like how math classes were, we're only halfway there to the final answer. This method's 1.5 ticking, and I hope you guys understood this so far because it only gets worse from here. If you guys don't mind, I would like a quick break to get 87 woodcutting. There we go. Okay guys, real quick, I have to be honest here. This guy with purple graceful that you see is an absolute unit. He ends up picking up my logs for like 15 minutes. Unfortunately, after those 15 minutes, he did end up calling me a bot, but I do hope that my bot made him a good chunk of money to buy whatever he needs, whether it's PVM or skill related, but best of luck to him. Alright, I guess we can dive back into the skilling stuff. Like I mentioned, I'm getting an action every 3 ticks. Let's divide up these 3 ticks, shall we? Tick number 1. Here I have to click the knife on the log to start the action and click the tree to start moving. Tick number 2. Here you can drop your logs if needed, otherwise just AFK. Finally, tick number 3. Click the tree again, and you're going to want to click your knife to get ready to start the next 3 tick cycle. Those are the 3 ticks of exactly how I'm doing this method. As you saw, sometimes I get 2 teak logs. If you guys remember, I mentioned moving on the same first tick that you knife to log. The reason for this is that when you do this, it tricks the game into giving you 2 rolls instead of 1. I can't tell you why it does this, and I don't understand it myself. I just do the clicking, but I'm not going to complain because it gives me lots of woodcutting XP. Lastly, if you see me getting fire making XP, it's because of my Infernal Axe. This axe has a 1 in 3% chance to burn a log, meaning I get to drop 33% less than what I normally would. The passive fire making XP is always nice, but personally, my favorite part is not having to drop as often. Dropping by far is the hardest part of this, in my opinion. Honestly, that was such a pain, and I am so sorry if that bored you. I hope I did a good job explaining for those who made it through. Honestly, there's more information I can bore you with, which maybe I will do later, but let's actually dive into the stuff I mentioned earlier, which is Spec Transfer. This is a lunar spell that many people use for PVM when they want to dump specs on their main. For example, they'll have their ults fly in, give them 100% spec, and then tele out. Their main will end up having an extra 100 spec in order to have 4 declaw specs, or 2 Z-bow specs, whatever it may be. It's very, very useful for endgame PVM, especially when you're trying to rush for pets. Anyways, why would this be useful for woodcutting? If you guys remember my previous video, I got 60 attack before training this skill. The reason was to wield the Dragon Axe. This axe has a special attack that consumes 100% of your special and gives you a visible +3 woodcutting boost. So essentially, at 90 woodcutting, if I use this spec, I can have the same success rates at level 93, effectively raising my XP rates by 1 to 3%. With this knowledge, I ended up bringing 2 of my alts to consistently spec transfer me. I'd always make sure that my woodcutting was boosted by a minimum of +2, with obviously a small disclaimer that sometimes my memory would go out and I would forget, but we don't talk about that. Funnily enough, the spell is actually called Energy Transfer. I do promise you guys that the reason I said Spec Transfer is if you go anywhere in the higher level communities, we call it Spec Transfer because that's all it's used for. No one ever needs run energy in this game, you just drink staminas. Not for this method though. Since I'd Spec Transfer every 2 to 3 minutes, it gave myself enough run energy so I never needed to drink any stams or anything. That is kind of epic. So all I've done so far this video in 5 minutes is run in circles and triangles at these trees. So let's see the biggest variety of my week, Birdhouse Runs. I did not do these consistently while woodcutting, but I do them at night right before bed, and then morning before work, and then during work hours when I could. I typically have like 16 hours including sleep, or I can't play around this time anyway. So it's pretty ideal for me to gear for a bunch of birdhouses and do them without having to bank. I'm going to try to birdhouse as much as I can because I messed up by not starting driftnet at the minimum fish and hunter level. So I'm trying to make up as much as I can by getting 70 hunter before going to DN. I don't do these every workday, just days where I know I won't be as busy. So it's super slow, and if I don't get the level I need before then I'll probably end up doing DN anyway because it's good. Yo guys, we are back at Teak Trees. If you're curious about my XP an hour on the screen, this is actually a really good rate. The XP scales pretty heavily per level, but I had a beast Twitch viewer, Enjoys, make me this chart for XP an hour I should be getting at each level. These rates assume you hit 210 to 225k XP per hour at 99, which is really good. They scale down for lower success rate at lower levels. During pretty much all of woodcutting, I made sure to at least average 210k an hour from level 80ish. Before then, I didn't have this chart, and I also was kind of bad at this skill. The other thing is, this skill is super hard to get a perfect hour on. I've never really been a super micro person, but at the same time, this is probably like one of the hardest things I've done so far in terms of having to click so often, drop so often, and not making any mistakes. Of course, I don't mind making mistakes here and there, and that's why I'm pretty happy with my rate. But anyone who can get a perfect hour on here, kudos to you. And I gotta say, I love to see it. There we go, guys. I am now officially halfway on the way to my first long grind 99. Small rant, and I think you guys are gonna think I'm weird for this, but when I think in terms of how many hours this 99 is to how long I spent doing 200 mils back in the day, this stuff's actually crazy. So obviously I have exponentially less free time now, but at the same time, it's crazy how fast 75 hours is for this 199. Back in the day, I spent 1500 hours on woodcutting, and a few other skills, probably about the same hours if not more when going for 200 mil all. That alone about this, the fact that I can finish a skill in 70 hours, makes me enjoy this series so damn much. God, one thing I miss most about Iron Man for the 3 months I played it is Birdhouse Runs. These things are so fast, it's unreal, especially at lower levels. I mean, you basically get 1 level every 1 to 2 runs. And please tell me how I didn't know that birdhouses were not tradable, dude. I swear, I know nothing about this game. I found out a little later on, and I was like mind blown that I didn't have to make my own birdhouses. After learning that, I would say I got myself prepared pretty well for birdhouse runs. I'm now up to mahogany birdhouses, so it's actually pretty cool stuff. You guys remember when I mentioned earlier that there's probably more woodcutting facts that I can go on about? I don't want to make this into a guide, so I'm not going to explain like the pathing of like 1.5 tick and stuff, but here is your fun fact of the day. Every time you get a bird's nest, it counts as a roll in getting a log. So essentially what this means is, if you get a bird nest drop, that could have been 87 woodcutting XP. In other words, screw bird nests. Do not ever celebrate them, especially on a series like this. I know most of the people who have 200 mil woodcutting or going for 200 mil woodcutting probably already know that, but I do know there's a good chunk of people that don't. There it is, guys, 95 woodcutting. Also, this looks weird because there's a Twitch notification in the top, but I have been streaming a good chunk of this series. I mentioned it in my last video and a lot of you have checked it out, and I appreciate all of you because you've given me tons of support and I've actually really been enjoying streaming. Don't forget to check it out. I will put the link below in the description. If you ever pop in while I'm streaming, feel free to ask me anything. I'm very talkative and I tend to read every message, even if I'm 1.5 tick woodcutting. Yo, I don't know what is with this account's RNG. If you guys remember, I got a champion scroll when going for lumberjack, and now I got the freaking beaver at 95 woodcutting. Unfortunately, it took me a few minutes to notice. I got it during streaming, and if I remember correctly, someone legit told me I had a beaver following me. I'm kind of slow. And typically I don't really care about pets, but I'm kind of enjoying this account's RNG. Anyways, that's one pet down, 49 to go, guys. See if we can hit it by 100 days playtime. I'm really getting there, guys. 96 woodcutting's about to be hit, and then we just have 3 more levels to go. You guys ever notice that they always ask how the wood chopping goes, but never how the wood lighting goes? Kinda messed up if you ask me. I just hit 90 fire making, and I trained 85 to 90 all through woodcutting, not even having to burn a single log myself. Now when I go back to fire making, I'll be able to jump straight into redwood logs, which means we don't have to spend 1k per log on magic logs anymore. Here we go, guys, 97 woodcutting. Let us take a look at this week's stats. Alright, we got the stats on the left, EHP on the right. If you remember from my last video, pretty much my only level since then that I've trained is Hunter from Birdhouses and Woodcutting from this. I mean, I got some passive fire making XP as well, which is pretty cool. As for my EHP, I didn't do this on purpose, but I'm at exactly 7 days efficient hours played. Let us hope that we have less than 7 days played, although this video I'm not going to be leaking that. I will probably be ending soon, so if you guys don't mind, I would love to hear your comments below on my explanation for teaks and the slow editing and everything that I've done. Basically, I want to know if I helped anyone who didn't understand this method, or even the people who don't even play the game if there's any of you out there. If it just seemed like filler, then let me know right away, because I'm pretty sure I bored people who already know what this method is. Anyways, take care, guys. I hope to see you next week. I have a lot of cool stuff planned for next episode, so be sure to sub and turn on notifications so you can check it out on release. Peace out.